Tech News Weekly is sponsored by GoDaddy. Get a .com domain name for only $2.49 by using offer code QUEENS at checkout.
Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tech News Weekly. This is a show where we talk about technology and everything that happened in the week. I'm Andrew Zarin. Of course, I'm joined by John, as I meet you every week. How you doing, John?
Hey, Andrew. What's up?
Nothing much. We're testing out the new system here. We are using new audio. We have all different stuff happening with the video, so it's a little
I'm loving the
crazy.
new shots that we have.
You know, I actually like it a lot too, but it is a little overwhelming that we have to do all this crazy stuff now. I have to memorize the keys. So, look, I knew this was camera 5.
You'll get used to it, though.
I know, I have a lot.
You'll get used to it, though, I think. It's just a matter of remembering stuff.
Yeah, that's all it comes down to. So in a couple
training
days.
your brain.
So I may click on the wrong button every now and then, so please forgive me if the shots are all whacked out. Never. You can follow
You're
John.
To be professional. You can't make a mistake.
You can follow John on Twitter at Suncast. This week we have a special guest on, Jim Castro, support hero. He's in everybody's chat room. If you watch a lot of our shows and you watch pretty much any internet broadcast that has to do with technology, Jim is there. Jim does tech support. Jim has a website. Jim is on Twitter. Jim, what is your website?
It's supporthero.com.
Supporthero.com. For someone that does not do an internet broadcast, you have the entire setup down. You got the Heil mic, you got the HD camera, you got Wirecast running. Do you not do a show? Have you done a show in the past?
I have not, actually. I plan on starting a support show, actually. So a live call-in tech support show.
Like an AA for internet broadcasting. Yeah. Excellent.
Exactly.
Excellent. There's a lot to talk about this week, so let's just go headfirst into the news. I guess we'll talk about the big Time Warner debacle that's happening with CBS. Time Warner Cable has cut out CBS TV in New York, Los Angeles, Dallas. Plus, they've cut Showtime, the movie channel, Flicks, Smithsonian nationwide. According to CBS, this is the first time that their channel has been ever dropped by a cable system. They're still negotiating, but this does not look good considering the NFL season is going to be starting soon, and CBS has the NFL this year. Time Warner is also blocking CBS.com, so you can't access the television shows on CBS.com. A lot of people are left using some different alternative like Aereo or just over-the-air programming. This is weird. I mean, this is crazy. And I really hope CBS turns around and says, you know what? Forget it. We're taking every Viacom station off Time Warner. What do you think, John? Yeah.
You really think that? You think CBS should pull every Viacom station off?
Pull everything off. Say, you know what? We're going to put everything online. We're going to sign all these deals with all these, like a Hulu and Netflix and all these channels. Put ads on there. Make the ad revenue back.
Yeah, that's crazy.
This is... Well, the whole premise for this appears to be that CBS wants more money from Time Warner. And the outrage over this, I believe, is the fact that because CBS is a public broadcast station, you can get it for free over an antenna. And so people are questioning why they're wanting more money when you can just get it for free over the air.
Yeah, sure.
And that seems to be... And if they do raise the prices... They say, oh, well, it gets passed on to customers. And, well, then CBS goes, well, no, they're just being unfair. They don't want to pay us fair compensation. So this is very cutthroat because if you've seen the articles, they've been going back and forth. But the CEOs of each company, Time Warner and CBS, they've been going at each other this entire week over this deal. And it's just like saying, one says, oh, well, we're not getting fair compensation. The other says, you're asking too much.
Jim, what do you
Time Warner is one of those companies where it's like you don't necessarily want to side with Time Warner because Time Warner in the past has proven not to be very great to their customers. But in this instant, I kind of agree with Time Warner that I just don't want any rates to be raised. It's already costing so much for cable.
No, you're absolutely right. Jim, what do you make of this? Because I know you have FiOS, but you've been following
Yeah,
the story.
luckily I do. I think, I mean, they're even getting like a bit cutthroat with this beyond just turning off their TV services. They're blocking each other now. It's extreme. I mean, and you know one that gets hurt is the customers out of everything. I don't know. This is going to be quite interesting the way this plays out.
They are saying that CBS. They are saying that CBS is losing about $500,000 a day by being off of Time Warner Cable. We've also seen ratings drop for a lot of their new shows at that Dome show. I forgot the name of it.
I think CBS has more to lose in this than Time Warner does.
Yeah.
You think so?
I do.
You know, but if I'm a cord cutter, right? Like, I think a lot of people, like, I'm going to become a cord cutter any month now. You know, like, I'm tired of paying that cable bill. I don't watch cable television anymore. Everything that I consume is online on my laptop or via Netflix. This would kind of be, like, if I was on Time Warner, this would be, like, the nail in the coffin for me. This would be, you know what? This is ridiculous. I'm canceling cable. I don't need to be paying $200 a month.
Here's the whole problem with that is that even if you have Time Warner Internet, you still can't go to CBS.com and view full episodes because they're blocking you if you're a Time Warner Internet customer.
Yeah,
so that won't even work. You have to get it from some other means. And to most smart people on the internet, that means piracy. If you look at the article that I have right below that, Torrent Freak actually was going around and did a study saying that CBS show Under the Dome last week has more piracy this week. It went up like 14%.
And we
saw it 14% more this week than it was last week due to this whole CBS blackout.
Yeah, so you're going to go and pirate it. I mean, and that's something I've been saying for years, especially even with Time Warner, with Cablevision and FiOS. You have these shows, like an example. You have Dexter this summer. It's a big summer show. And you'll see, you know, they'll start putting it on demand. And if you're like 7 weeks in and you want to watch it, the first couple episodes are gone. They start off like midway. So what's your other option? If you know what you're doing, you're going to go and you're going to download it illegally and watch it on the computer. It's almost like they're kind of forcing you to do it that way. What does the cable provider have to gain by not providing you with all these shows? Like, there are a lot of shows on TV that are not on demand. And they're not on the cable channel.
That drives me nuts. Especially like History and Discovery have a very bad habit of not having episodes available for on demand or on their website. And that drives me nuts because there's a lot of stuff on there that I love watching. But then if I don't actually get to see it when it airs live or a repeat that same night, well, then you're not going to see it.
Jim, let me ask you this. Do you think Time Warner cutting CBS will be enough for some people to say, you know what, I don't want to get any more cable. I'm not even watching this anymore. Why am I paying and they're cutting my channels?
I mean, for the tech user, I think definitely. I mean, people are already frustrated. I mean, this has been happening a lot now with all different cable companies cutting the cord of each other, which is a bit ridiculous. I think so. I mean, I'm frustrated as a user if, you know, they're cutting my channels too. So of course I'm going to look to something like piracy to get, you know, those shows that I want to watch. People are going to do what's the easiest method of getting something. And if that's just going online and downloading it, that's what people are going to do. You know, if I can turn on my TV and watch it, then I'm going to watch it.
I think what this proves is the fact that people out there now are pretty savvy when it comes to the internet. And if there's something that they can't get on their TV, they can't get from the official vendor, they will find it whatever way they want to find it. They know that they know that there's something somewhere out there that they can get to see what they want to see.
Oh yeah, I think the total,
whether it be legal or illegal.
I think the entire concept of not being able to watch is totally out the window. Like I think now even
Voight said that he's kind of a little upset because he can't even see his own show Ray Donovan.
Oh yeah, because it's on what channel?
CBS.
CBS.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. That's so bizarre. I mean, it's just, we've seen this happen. I think this happened with Fox, and there were a couple, this has happened like once or twice before, but there was a similar dispute between Fox blocking Cablevision subscribers on Hulu. during their
Yeah, and
dispute
this
in
also happened,
2010.
I think, with like A&E.
Yeah, A&E was off. Yeah, A&E was off the air for many people too. So we've seen this happen. At the end of the day, it's gonna, obviously they're gonna come back. But I would love, there to be like a catalyst for the entire collapse of the cable industry. Like I wait for that day to come because it's insane. Like my cable bill in this house is $300, and I literally watch 1 hour of programming on television a day. So if you do the math, I'm paying an insane amount. Insane.
Not only that, but then you guys sit there and watch commercials. Wasn't the whole point of commercials so that these networks could make money that are broadcast for free?
I don't even mind the commercials. I don't mind the commercials at all.
So not only do you have to pay money for these cable subscriptions, but then they also have advertisements on it for the networks. So you're getting hosed on both ends. Networks making money both ways.
See,
Yeah,
I
they're all
don't care
double
about that. I don't care about the commercials. I'm okay with it. What I want is the content. If I don't know. It's so bizarre. I mean, it's just weird. Like talk about the HD thing. Like how many HD channels have they added over the last year? Nothing. There are still channels.
They don't have to because people aren't demanding it.
But But you know what? I think people are dumb and they don't even know that they're not watching in HD. I think most people think they get a high def TV and they're watching it and like, look, I got an HD TV.
Yeah, I can tell you my parents have no clue about that.
Yeah, see, many people don't. They buy the TV and they still watching the channels. They're like, look, I got an HD TV. It's astonishing to me that there are still channels out there that are not in high definition. In 2013, we're talking about 4K. We're at that point. We're saying like, well, Ultra HD, that's going to be it. And there are still channels that are not in HD. The Yes Network here in New York had a 3D channel. ESPN had a 3D channel, but Smithsonian, whatever, like Nat Geo 2 is not in HD.
Yeah, TV Guide channel is not in HD. I can't fathom why any network these days would not even have an HD offering.
Oh, don't get started with Big Brother and CBS. They don't even have HD cameras. That's a whole separate
That's another
thing.
reason not to care about this whole CBS blackout. They can't even have all their shows in HD. That's ridiculous.
I want to move on to another story, but before we do, I want to talk about our sponsor, and that is not a sponsor. That is not a sponsor. This is a sponsor. There you go, and it's GoDaddy. GoDaddy's offering a phenomenal deal for our audience. If you are looking to purchase a .com domain name, and I encourage you guys to purchase that because I consider domain names 21st century real estate, and I'll tell you why. First of all, it's dirt cheap. It's like buying a house in Detroit at this point. You know what? I'm sorry, GoDaddy. I think you could buy a house cheaper in Detroit than you can buy a domain name, even with this phenomenal deal.
You really don't like Detroit, do you?
I have nothing against the place. It's just a total crapshoot. But GoDaddy's offering a phenomenal deal. $249.com domain names for our audience if you use promo code Queens at checkout at GoDaddy.com. And I'll tell you why this is a good investment. My wife, Jessica, had a website. I'm not going to say the site right now, but it was a educational-based website. She had nothing on the site, just a domain name. We had it for about a year. And we got a message from GoDaddy. GoDaddy was calling me. GoDaddy was emailing me, and I totally ignored it. I'm like, I probably need to, pay my bill, or I got to, re-up my hosting account or whatever it is. But they finally got in touch with me. They sent me an email, personal email. They said, hey, listen, someone's interested in buying this website from you. And I go, okay, how much? I'm thinking a couple $100. I ended up selling this site for $5,000.
Jeez.
$5,000. And by the way, they've done nothing with it. But $5,000 I sold it to. And that's also something cool with the GoDaddy because so many people buy GoDaddy websites. Internally, they're able to kind of broker a sale for you if someone wants the domain name. So if you think about it, I think at that time I had paid like $9 for the domain name. I sold it for an astronomical, percentage if you do the math. But you could get a domain name for $249. You go to GoDaddy.com, use the offer code Queens at checkout, and you get it for $249 on .com domain names. I want to thank GoDaddy for supporting Tech News Weekly. Let's see if I can get this right now. Look at that. Look at that. I got it right. I'm doing something right.
Look at you. You're a big boy now.
I am a big boy. Can we start talking about this, the iPhone 5C? I guess C for color. that they're going to call it. I have, I don't know what to make of it. I think they have to provide something like this at this point. But are people going to go and buy it because it's in color and it's plastic? Is that enough of a selling point for it?
Yes.
You think so?
That and this is supposed to be the low budget, low cost iPhone, correct?
Yes.
I think there is a market out there for that, because if you look at the fact that carriers are still selling the iPhone 4. And in part, that's due to people not knowing anything about what it is that they're actually buying, that there's 2 generations since the iPhone 4.
Oh, people are buying it. And a lot of people are buying it. I know a lot of people that go and buy the 4S. On a regular basis, they're buying the 4S. I mean, it's not like they're just buying the 4S. They don't even consider the 5.
My thought
So I don't think this is necessarily a bad deal at all. I think this is something that there's a viable market out there for this. Apple has made a viable market for this.
Go ahead.
My thing is, will this hurt Apple? I mean, they've been using their older models to clear stock. So selling their older model at a cheaper or free, with subsidies, is this going to hurt Apple now that they're selling? What are they going to do with all the 5s now?
Sorry. The iPad is a perfect example of this. What they did with the iPad is bizarre because, first of all, they put the iPad 2 when the iPad 2 came out, and then the iPad 3 came out. They still had the iPad 2 on the market, so I kind of understood that they're selling a 1-generation old device on the market because they need to kind of saturate and have an option for you. Then the 4th-gen iPad came out, and the 3rd went away, and the 2nd-gen stayed on the market. That kind of didn't make sense to me, but I guess what's making more sense is the fact that this is going to be their layout. They're going to have the current generation on the market. They'll sell the stock out on whatever they had previously, and they'll have a cheaper alternative to the higher model. And it'll still be updated. I think it's crazy for someone to walk into Apple and buy a 2.5-year-old device at this point. The iPad 2 is 2.5 years old. Came out in March of 2011.
I completely agree with you.
Why are and first of all, people don't even understand that this is an old device, but you think about that, you're going and buying a 2.5-year-old device, and they did some upgrades to the hardware, tiny little spec upgrades, but it's not a new device. So for Apple to say, okay, you know what? $399, you buy the cheaper iPad. $499 is obviously the main model with the Retina. And then you got the Mini. You do the same thing with the Mini. I think this is a great model for them to follow, and I think they're going to do that in the phone system. You're going to have the 5S, you're going to have the cheaper version, and maybe you have the 1-year-old generation one. I mean, John, do you think they'll still keep the older phone on the market? Or do you think it's going to just disappear like the iPad 3 and the iPad 4?
You know what they could do? I don't know how realistic this is, but perhaps the previous generation is what they'll end up giving away for free.
I don't know. I
definitely see a market out there for a cheaper, low budget and color iPhone. I definitely see that.
Oh yeah. Listen, I think a lot of people would prefer you to have the option of color.
Yeah.
A lot of people want that. They want it.
I want one.
Would you really?
Well, here's the thing is, earlier this year, I think it was, we saw the anodized aluminum cases out there that somebody was doing. It's a lot of money, but it looks so cool to have a colorized anodized aluminum iPhone. It's really cool. People went crazy over that. The problem that stopped people from really going to do that route is the fact that it was, like $100 just to do that. I mean, yeah, you can get a case, but if you can just get an iPhone in its purest form in color, people will eat that up.
And it was $100 more to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jim, how about you? Are you interested in a colored iPhone?
I don't think I would be interested. I'm probably, really being a tech guy, I'm going to go with the best, I can get from them. But I do think in the especially in the teen market, kids that younger and younger are getting phones. I can see that the color phone would be ideal for them. And maybe something that's a little bit more sturdier, something that, because it's a little plasticky. If you drop it, it won't break as easy. I think that would be a big, huge hit.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think in that case,
see, and that's another area that you could expand Apple's reach into. I mean, yeah, they do that now, but if you make something that's cheaper, that's going to entice more people to buy into it. For it's a disposable thing, is what it comes down to. It's making the iPhone disposable.
Well, I think all these tech devices are disposable. You know, you have them for 2 years and then you dump it out. That's
Sure.
really what you do with these things. So if you're going to get a little bit less, you know, little bit of a less specced out phone, but it's still, you know, the latest and the greatest, I think a lot of people are going to jump on that. And you could get it in hot pink and red. So whatever you want. Amazon, this is fascinating to me, and I know Jim games a little bit. Amazon is to take on Apple TV with an Ouya-like game console. This is the rumor that's coming out. Sources have approached Game Informer with the interesting bit of news about the world's largest retailer. Amazon is developing an Android-based console for release at the end of the year, most likely for Black Friday. This is something that I've been talking about for a while, that Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft have a huge uphill battle when it comes to the casual gamer. The casual gamer, years ago, would still wait online and buy the Xbox. They would wait online and get the PlayStation. Now, you know, it's a totally different market from 2007, 2006, but right now, people are not going to do that, in my opinion. I think you're going to have the hardcore gamer, but people like me are not going to go and wait online for hours to get an Xbox the day that it's released. We get our gaming fix from stupid things like Angry Birds, and it's Howard in like Kingdom Rush. So something like this is fascinating to me, that, you know, and if it's $99 or $69, forget it. I think a lot of people would buy it. Jim, what do you think of this?
I think Amazon could definitely pull something like this off. I mean, look at the Kindle Fire. Look how well that's been. And it's the low cost, you know, iPad basically. And it's a great media consumption device. So I think if Amazon came out with a gaming device, I think that basically was for everyone, and it was low cost. You know, you're looking at like the Xbox at $500. I mean, $100 console in the sense where you can pick it up and play your games at home. I think that's great. So, you know, a great add-on for a living room device.
Yeah, I also think it comes down to the developers. Like I've always said, how come a lot of these Android games are not scaling properly to the TV? You know, Google has a television set anyway with Google TV, but a lot of these games don't scale properly and you can't play it on there. But if Amazon were to take their Amazon App Store, incorporate, you know, a new UI, maybe go with the modify, I guess you can modify the Kindle Fire UI, you would have a phenomenal device here. Give a controller, make sure these games, the developers are kind of scaling it for the TV. I think it would be great. I think even John would be interested in it. You don't care about games, huh? At all?
No,
Why?
not really. It's just something that does not interest me. It doesn't hold my attention. I play for 2 seconds. Okay, I can't move on. This sucks. I suck at this. Why even bother? There's other stuff I'm good at.
I think something like this is going to be really good. You look at the success of Steam and how, you know, you could buy pretty much a game for like $15 on there and people are playing it, and you have so many different options on Steam. That kind of model.
They threw a lot of support behind that, though.
That kind of model works. And I think
my concern with this is that it could still have some sort of shortcoming. Like, yes, you have the Roku out there, you have the Chromecast out there, you have Apple TV out there, but I think each one of those still has some sort of shortcomings where it doesn't quite measure up in the same way that it does with like an Xbox or a PlayStation, where those devices will do anything and everything you throw at it. Whereas these devices, yes, they're cheaper, but you still, in a way, want them to be able to do anything and everything that these bigger boys do.
Yeah, but I mean, really, do you need it to do everything that the big guys are doing? Think about that. Does it?
You don't need it to, but there's so many people out there that want it to do this or want it to do that.
I mean, in my opinion, John, in my opinion, the gaming market, the console manufacturers, they all know that they cannot be profitable to the level that I guess that they want to be by only selling a gaming console. So what do they have to do? They have to add media to it. They have to talk about the TV. They have to talk about Hulu and all these other things. That can easily be done by Amazon or anybody else putting out a cheaper alternative, an Android-based console.
Sure. Let me give you an example of what I mean by shortcomings. I'm very much interested in Apple TV. My one complaint with that is that it does not support Plex unless you jailbreak it.
Yeah,
That's
because,
my
because
one
there's no
thing
app
about that.
support. I mean, Jim,
Yeah.
I've had the same problem with it, but Jim, my biggest complaint with the Apple TV is that you have this huge catalog of games for iOS, and you really can't do much with them because they haven't kind of developed the Apple TV and they haven't developed, this gaming experience on the TV.
It makes me wonder, maybe Apple's sitting on their hands about this, and they're just something that they're putting on the back burner that they're just going to release one day and do that. It makes me wonder. And the iPad would be the perfect controller for it. So,
the iPad would be a perfect controller, but
Yeah,
you could even
I
sell a controller. You sell an add-on device to do this.
Yep.
Apple doesn't have to do it. They just have to open up the support for a third-party controller, and there you go. The Apple TV and I even the iPad are doing the work, but you'll probably have a pretty decent experience on this thing.
Yeah, I think so. I could see people doing it.
It's interesting.
I'm holding reserve on this particular device if it would actually be something that measures up to people's expectations. Because we've seen that in the past. I mean, I think initial fanfare for the Chromecast was amazing, but now people are really taking a look back at this, and it's just like, there are a lot of little things here and there that are missing.
With what? The Chromecast?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of things missing. I mean, people bought this thing because
But
it's $35.
the initial fanfare was crazy. It sold out. Everybody bought like 2 of them.
But why? Why did it sell out? You tell me that.
I have no idea.
I mean,
they did. I think a lot of it was just the presentation was so amazing.
I don't even think it was a presentation. I think it was $35. It was cheap, and people thought it was a cool little toy. I honestly think that's why people bought it, and that's why it sold out. If this thing was $99, nobody would have bought it. And every article, the praise on these blogs were insane. I mean, people said, this is the device. This is it. This is it.
This is why I'm saying I'm reserving my judgment on things like this. Is because there can be that initial fanfare, but then when you stand back and look at the totality of the device, it doesn't quite measure up to the promise that the developers have for these things.
Jim, are you using yours?
Yeah, on my Chromecast?
Yeah.
I use it.
And do you have issues with it, or is it fun?
No, it works good. I actually don't own an Apple TV. I've used plenty of Apple TVs before with work and stuff, but I actually don't own an Apple TV. I just had no need for it. With the Chromecast, though, it basically fills in for the only need that I would have had with the Apple TV, which is streaming my iDevice to the Apple TV. So the Chromecast fills that in.
I mean, I don't have an Apple
for me.
TV. I have a Google TV. I have a Roku, and now I got the Chromecast. But
Yeah.
I still feel that it's glitchy. Like, one issue that I have is that the screen blinks every couple minutes.
I mean, one problem I've had with it, actually, now that I think about it, is I have a wired desktop, and the wired desktop doesn't seem to be able to work with it. Only my Wi-Fi device.
Only Wi-Fi devices, yeah.
Yeah. So I find that as an issue. If I wanted to stream a movie or Netflix or something from my desktop, which has obviously a faster internet connection to the Chromecast, it doesn't work. So
I think with further development, we're going to see what happens. There's a lot of potential in a $35 device like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
it is.
potential.
It's disposable technology, too. They come out with a new one in a couple of months. What's another $35? I mean,
That's my bar bill for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Asus has pulled out of the Windows RT manufacturing Windows RT devices due to financial losses. This is not a big shock. Asus already publicly expressed their woes with poor sales of Windows RT devices, and they just said that they are done with RT. They are not going to concentrate on RT, and they're going to only make Windows 8 devices that are running on Intel x86 platforms. I have a lot of I think we were talking about this earlier in a Google Hangout.
Yeah.
I have a lot of issues with Windows 8. I know John has a lot of issues with Windows 8. But my thing about ARM was I got this device. I said, wow, this is going to be really cool. It's going to be a restricted version of Windows, so you could give it to mom and you could give it to dad, and they're not going to be able to screw it up. They're not going to be able to get malware on this thing. And the first time I played around with this device, I was like, wow, look at that. I'm in desktop. Well, I'm in desktop a lot. I'm using IE in desktop. I'm using Office in desktop. Okay, but I can't do anything. This is it. This is all I could do. You know what it kind of reminded me of? Do you remember, John, that on live service where you could access a computer, and we did it live on the air?
Yeah.
Like they had servers for you and you could kind of access it. That's what it reminded me of. You could use Office and you could use the browser, and that's it. So, but the reason for that was that Windows 8, a lot of the key components that were incorporated in Windows over the last 20 years were not brought over to the Tile UI. So they had to leave it in there. So the future of this device, maybe not with 8.1, but maybe 8.2 or whatever the next device is, they're probably going to eliminate the entire desktop experience for RT, which I think is a phenomenal thing. And you're just going to get this, the tiled interface. That's what it should be. And
I just don't care.
You know what, though, John? I'll tell you when you'll care. I'll tell you when you'll care.
I'll care when it's actually fully complete.
When it's fully
baked
complete.
in.
Yeah, when it works the way you want it to work. Forget about, and I'm only talking about tablets. I'm not talking about the desktop. I'm not even gonna go there. But when we're talking about tablets, there should be no desktop on a tablet. Tablet alone. I'm not even talking about the higher end. Like the Surface RT should not have desktop. That's when I think you'll care. When the apps are developed for it and it's kind of finished. 8.1 is still not a finished operating system, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
I think they added a lot of stuff that they're supposed to, but it's not done. And you see it
I think they had this grand vision, but I don't think that grand vision has been completely realized, or their vision in many ways is not, I'm trying to think of the phrase or wording to say it. It's just not realistic.
Were you going to say delusional?
Or some of the things they've implemented.
How about you, Jim? I mean, are you running 8? Or are you still on 7?
I am running 8 on one of my laptops. I am, actually.
And what do you think of it?
I mean, I think 8's actually... I like 8, believe it or not. I'm one of those weird people that actually like Windows 8. I guess I kind of see what Microsoft is trying to do. And something that Microsoft has lacked for a very long time is an ecosystem. And I think that they're using Windows 8 to start building that ecosystem. You're going to start seeing cross-platform applications, I think. And that's what they're going to go with. You're going to see the same app that works on your Windows phone, that works on your Xbox, that works on your Windows tablet, that works on your Windows desktop PC. And I think that's what Microsoft is aiming to do. It's just taking them, and there's a lot of growing pains with doing that. It's just taking them some time to do it. I think Windows RT was definitely released maybe a year too early. But I also think it kind of helped twist Intel's arm a little bit there to say, hey, you guys are not building those low power usage CPUs that we need to have long battery life on these devices. So we're going to have to go look at another platform to do that with. And Intel said, I think we need to do something about this because our biggest user of devices, which is Microsoft, what OS is on most Intel devices? It's Windows. So they kind of twisted their arm there. And now Intel is looking at making low power usage CPUs. I think,
But this is a typical Intel thing. Intel kind of, they're the number one CPU manufacturer in the world, and they kind of fall back, and AMD kind of caught up to them in the early 2000s, and then they destroyed AMD over the last couple of years. But this is kind of what they do. I think the Haswell platform is a phenomenal platform, and it's really going to help them out. But again, it's still not great. I think with ARM, they were also anticipating much better CPU performance, and you're not really getting it on the Surface right now.
They over-delivered and under-promised, or over-promised and under-delivered.
Yeah. It's disappointing, really, because I actually think the Surface is a really cool device. I just think that they could have done a much better job with it. And now that Asus is kind of pulling out from, manufacturing RT devices. RT, you know what? If I was Microsoft, and I say this all the time, I would just say, forget it. We're going to make our own computers. We're going to start manufacturing Surface laptops and Surface desktops and Surface tablets and phones. And if you guys want to follow our lead, go right ahead.
But I don't think they're able to realistically do that because, in my opinion, Windows Surface has not been a very good deal for customers. that was supposed to be Microsoft's way of saying this is the hardware that we think everybody should be using and the operating system everybody should be using. But realistically, it doesn't work for most people. Most people are not interested in what Microsoft put out with these Surface tablets.
Ugh, God.
So to say that Microsoft should be doing their own hardware and software, I just don't necessarily bite into that.
By the way, I forgot to pull this up when we were doing the iPhone stuff, but this is pretty cool now. I mean, it looks nice. The 5C.
Yeah.
It's not
It doesn't
bad.
look horrible. I mean, yeah, it looks a little bit cheaper than most iPhones that we've seen in the past, but
It's not. I mean, this is a nice looking phone.
Well, it makes me wonder what Apple's going to do when they release the other phone along with the C. What is the C going to have? Oh, the non-C. I guess we assume it's going to be called the 5S. What is the 5S going to have that's going to be so stellar that everybody else is going to, all right, the teens can get the 5C, but everybody, if you really want the great phone, you're going to get the 5S. I wonder what Apple's going to put in the 5S to make you go wow now that they're doing a lower end model.
Yeah.
You bring up some interesting points here, and there's another iPhone
Thank
or
you,
iOS
John.
story in here that I really want to get Jim's thoughts on, and it's the fact that they're saying that like 50% of the applications out there now are going to require you to have iOS 7 in order for them to run. Let me see if I can find the exact stats here. According to a new study conducted by Twitterrific developer Greg Hockenberry of the Icon Factory, 95% of iOS developers are presently working towards adding support for iOS, while more than half of all apps, 52%, will require iOS 7 in order to run on an iDevice. What are your thoughts on that, Jim?
I don't think it's a big deal, actually. So basically, that means we're cutting out the 3S, I would assume, and lower. So any device older than the 3S.
iPhone 3GS, the 4th generation iPod Touch, and the 1st generation iPad will not be supported by iOS 7.
The way people buy iDevices, people just always go to the new device, usually within those 2 years. Maybe they hold on to iPad maybe for 3 years until someone breaks it or they break it or they feel it's too old or too scratched up. I think it won't be a problem at all, actually. If you look at compared to Android, on Android everybody's on different versions of their OS. Most people are all on the same version of iOS for the most part. So I don't think going up to 7 is actually going to be a big deal.
This is rather fascinating, I think, because if you think about it, we don't see this kind of fast-paced change in applications like this in smartphones or even on the desktop. We don't necessarily see it change this quickly. The fact that you have so many developers willing to update their iOS application, because like you said, on the Android side, they just generally don't do that. A new version will come out, but it'll take them 6 months to a year for them to come out with the version that supports the new operating system. Whereas with iOS, we're seeing them do it before the new version even comes out.
Yeah, well, I think Apple feels that they're the king of the hill when it comes to mobile applications.
And
So
they
it's
are.
basically they are. It's their way or the highway. So you're going to do what we want you to do, or you're not going to be able to put your application on our device. And we got 1 bazillion users that are using iDevices. So hey, you're lost then if you don't upgrade.
I mean, even now, I don't know if you've noticed that, but there's a lot of applications. If you're not running the latest version of iOS 6, so what is it, 6.1, 6.2? 6.2?
Yeah,
I thought it was 6.1.4 or 6.14.
Whatever it is. Yeah, whatever it is. If you're not running that, a lot of applications do not run. And I started noticing this on my wife's phone, which she never upgrades, and my mother-in-law's phone, which she never upgrades. So I had to actually do the update on their phones. But this has been going on for some time where applications don't run. I just think it's going to be a much bigger deal when, let's say GFQ, right? Let's say the GFQ app that was working on version 6 now no longer works on version 6 because we've upgraded, obviously, and we've changed the code, and now it only works on version 7. I think you're
Yeah.
going to see a big deal there when a lot of the developers start coding for 7 instead of 6. And how about all these people that haven't upgraded? We're forgetting about them. How about the 4S people that haven't upgraded? How about the 5 people that haven't upgraded?
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
I think a lot of, and also let's forget about us. Let's talk about the people that don't really understand why they have to upgrade.
It's fascinating because Apple is, in a way, one of those ecospheres where people want the latest and greatest every single time. So even if you do have the 4S, I think a lot of those people, unless they're older adults that don't necessarily stay up to date on technology type of stuff, but I think most people that have an iOS device want to have the latest operating system. They can't wait to get the latest operating system, the latest version, whatever.
Listen, I'm excited for iOS 7. I think it's going to be. This is what they needed. I'm also
They made
excited
some
to see new
changes
iPhone.
in this latest beta for iOS 7 that I don't necessarily like. They changed several icons in settings from just a plain icon to an icon surrounded by a square with rounded corners,
Do you have an image
which
of
I don't
that?
particularly like. I had to look it up.
I'd like to see it.
It's a 6.1.3 is actually.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's pretty.
Yeah, I have this here. Let
You
me
know what
send
it kind of
real
does
quick.
look like though? They just took the icons and just upped the vibrance on it.
Yeah.
If you look at that second image, the redesigned icons and settings app.
Okay, let me get there. Hold on. So there's Suncast. Okay, the second one.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
oh,
that
wow,
one
they
right
did
there.
change it. So they added color.
Well, I don't know. They just took the same icons, only they added this square with rounded corners icon behind it, and they took out the color. Personally, I prefer the before shot where all the icons are blue and a little bit larger without the rounded square. I just don't think that it necessarily makes sense the change they made. I very much visually prefer the before versus the change that they made with these icons.
I don't mind it. I kind of like it.
It's bugging the crap out of me. It's so different. I just don't think it fits,
Interesting.
and it almost feels like it was a compromise. That our whole thing with iOS was that we have these buttons with these squares with rounded corners, and that's distinctly iPhone and iOS. So we got to somehow incorporate that back into iOS 7 because everybody likes that.
Yeah. Interesting.
It could go bad for them. I mean, there are a lot of people that don't like change. You know. So
No, a lot of
it-
people
it-
don't like change.
Exactly. So it could go bad for them where people are like, "Oh, I hate the new look of it." You know, Apple's looked the same from day one. Now this is a huge change compared to
But I
what
think
we've
it was
seen
a much
before.
needed change.
Oh yeah, they
at the end of the
need
day.
to innovate in some way, and if that's changing the look, I mean that's how many other ways can they innovate nowadays?
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Why don't we do our picks of the week?
Okay.
What do you say? So let me see how this is going to work. That's not going to work. There. That's, where is the lower third? There we go. Ah, look at that. I'm getting the hang of this. John, you want to go first this week?
Yeah, I'll go first this week. You have my link, right?
Yes. Hold on. I don't know how to do this. I broke it. I broke it.
You got to bring up the me in the little box and the website in the bigger box. Plus
That's
plus
not
the
it. There you
picks
go.
of the
There you
week
go. Okay.
lower third.
All right. All right. You know what? I gotta label these buttons. I really do. I'm like, what am I doing? All right. What is your pick of the week?
My pick of the week is a application for practically every device out there. It's called Shazam. You've probably heard of this before. You've probably even seen this advertised on TV before. It's this little application that you can use to detect and figure out what it is that you're watching, what it is you're listening to. If it's an advertisement, if it's a TV show, if it's music, you just open up the application, press a button, and it'll tell you exactly what it is that you're hearing, which is very cool. I just kind of really got into this, and I didn't realize just how well this actually works. Because I've used this sort of technology in the past before, but it took, several seconds, up to a minute for it to detect what it is that it was actually hearing and tell me what it was I was listening to. This is pretty cool. I'm going to try and do a demo here. I I have music here on my Kindle Fire here. I'll just show you the application because this is going to be too difficult to have two devices in one hand and hold it. But on my iPhone, and you can get this for Android, you can get this for Windows Phone, you can get this for BlackBerry, you can get this for basically every device out there, even your computer, I believe. When you open it up, it comes to this screen here where it says touch to listen, or it's listening, and it's pretty cool. So once you do that, it only takes a few seconds for it to detect it, and then it'll come up with whatever it is that you take. So earlier I was listening to Alice in Chains Rooster, and this is what it comes up with. It'll tell you exactly what it is. It literally took like 2 seconds to do this, which is really cool. And it has all sorts of buttons here. You can listen to it in iTunes. You can listen to it on RDO. You can find YouTube videos of it. You have lyrics. You can find artist info, concert and tour information, upgrades, track review. It has all sorts of stuff that you can do once you've tagged something. And it keeps those tags, so you can go back and see everything that you've tagged. So earlier we were looking at this weird band, Does It Offend You? Which I know Andrew really likes this one song that they have from them. It's pretty cool, and it works very well. You can even share it on Facebook and connect it to your Facebook and share it with your friends, which is pretty cool. This is something I'm sure you've heard of, but if you've never tried it before, it's really something that you should try because it's really cool. It works very well. That's Shazam, and you can get it on Shazam.com for practically every single device out there, from iPhone to your iPad, Android, Windows Phone, BlackBerry, etc.
But why did they come to snuff the rooster? I want to know that. Why did they?
You should Shazam it and see if somebody tells you.
They came to snuff the rooster, but nobody knows why. That's a good pick.
I'm very surprised at how quickly this is able to identify what it is that I'm listening to.
Yeah, and you see the commercial. Like almost every commercial now has a Shazam button on like little logo on the bottom.
Yeah, it works very well.
Yeah, really cool. Very nice pick, John. Hey, Jim.
Yes.
First time for you. What's your pick?
It's called Mixbit. It's made by the co-founder of YouTube.
Very cool. So,
great.
What does it do? Interesting.
All right, so Mixbit is kind of a little competition for Vine and Instagram video services. So it allows you basically to take video for 16 seconds. But not only for 16 seconds, you can actually combine the clips and make up to an hour-long video with it. You can also borrow clips from other users and mix them up. So you can make these long videos using everyone's clips. It's pretty cool.
Okay, so I'm clicking on a video here.
Okay, yeah, great.
Let's see what it does. And I can't. It's not playing.
It is available for iOS and for Android.
So it's a new way. So you got to mix and match on videos. You could add it to your video. You can make it's almost like DJing with videos.
Exactly
Very
like
cool.
that.
Very cool.
Just launched. Yeah, it's really awesome.
I think
it's going to be something people are going to be watching.
So my pick this week, thank you, Jim. My pick this week, no surprise. I like to pick something that I'm using that week. And we just started using Wirecast here at the GFK Network. It's been a long transition for us from VidBlaster to Wirecast. Last summer we transitioned and we started using Wirecast for encoding. So our stream is Wirecast. It's what you're seeing right now. Just last week, we said, you know what, we're going to take the plunge. We're going to go into it. I want to thank Nick from Radar Gaming. He really helped out a lot. Jim helped out a lot. A lot of people, Steven from TechBuzz helped. Suncast, of course, has been here. So a lot of people are involved in this move over. And we're finally up and running on it. And I have to tell you, I'm very impressed by it. I think it's really well done. It's really stable. The CPU is running much better. I think right now we're doing like 20 or 30, 40 shots. Maybe more than that. Maybe 50 shots at this point. And our CPU's at around 30%. And we're also recording in HD. So this thing is really working. You get a free trial if you go to telestream.net and also go to the Wirecast section. But, John, you should talk about this a little bit. You've been really hands-on with this.
Yeah, me and Nick both have been working hard on setting this up for you so you can run this. There's also some extra software that we're using called Wirecast Toolbox to use our number pad to change the shots, which is pretty cool. But I love the flexibility of this because in previous software that we've used, we didn't necessarily have the flexibility to do the kind of shots that you're seeing right now, where I'm in this little box and then you're seeing this bigger box with the website in it, which is really cool. We didn't have that flexibility before, and I really like being able to have those type of shots. We actually look much more polished now, being able to do something like that.
Also, I mean, if you look at the video quality, there's far less drop frames and there's far less video tearing. It's able to handle the video really well, especially high def video.
Yeah,
I know, Jim, you use Wirecast also.
Yeah, I think it's a great application. I really do. I like the way it uses layering. So it's kind of like Photoshop with video layers. So each layer is over each other. Helps you do lower thirds. It handles completely. If you used any other type of switching software in the past, Wirecast is completely different from all those other ones out there.
Yeah, it's a really good piece of software, and you should give it a shot if you're interested in internet broadcasting or podcasting, or you're looking to do a couple video reviews and stuff. You should take a look. I think the Pro version, the highest model, is about $500, but well worth it. I mean, there's really nothing else. There's nothing else on the market that comes close as far as pricing goes. So, a really cool product, and I'm excited to be using it. And my pick is Wirecast. I believe Wirecast 4.3. I think Wirecast 5 is coming out soon, so you might like it. All right, guys, that's it. We're done for the day. Let me see if I can switch the lower third. Look at that. I'm learning. It's getting there. You go to our website, gfknetwork.com. You also follow me on Twitter, at Andrew Zarin. You can follow John at Suncast. And Jim is what? Support Hero?
At Support Hero.
At Support Hero. And we'll see you all next week, guys. So take care and brush your hair and keep on teching. I don't know. Keep it buzzing. Bzz. I'm just stealing lines.